Contribute to the hashtag PuckStrong movement for mental health and hockey athletes by watching the video, tweeting the hashtag, and sharing your stories on the website. Let's talk about change. And in particular, I want to talk about the change on perspectives, the change in our expectations, and what we believe is right. I wanted to talk about this because it's sort of resurfaced a tiny bit. This hasn't resurfaced any time in the past few weeks, however, it's just something that's been in existence for a long time. Let's go over to hockeyfeed.com's article published back in September of 2017. Report: the Vancouver Canucks turned down a blockbuster deal from the Avs for Tyson Barrie. And it talks about, in this article, how in Elliotte Friedman's 31 Thoughts earlier in that month, the Vancouver Canucks almost had Tyson Barrie in their grasp, but the thing is, they didn't want to give up Ben Hutton. Hutton was the guy that Joe Sakic was asking back in return in a deal like this that included Tyson Barrie, and the Vancouver Canucks said, no, we're not trading Ben Hutton for this, no, it's not working. And it's really interesting to talk about this, because obviously now if somebody said Hutton for Barrie, yes, 100% Barrie all the way, let's go, no questions asked. But even going back 3 years ago, back when the Colorado-Vancouver rumors surfaced, let's take a look at this Reddit thread on our Canucks from around December of 2015. Friedman says, would the Canucks do Virtanen and Hutton for Tyson Barrie? And if you click on the link, it's a 30 Thoughts article by Friedman posted in mid-December of 2015, and if you go down to the thought, the 7th thought in this article, it reads right here: if Colorado decides it can't or won't sign Tyson Barrie, let's wonder if Vancouver, badly needing a defenseman, makes a play. Would the Canucks do Ben Hutton and Jake Virtanen? I could see them trying Virtanen and Yannick Weber, but I'm not sure that would be enough. Just spitballing. And obviously today, somebody says Yannick Weber and Jake Virtanen for Tyson Barrie? Yes, please. Somebody says the exact same thing with Ben Hutton instead of Yannick Weber. Hutton, Virtanen for Barrie? Yes, please, sign me up. And obviously, this is why I wanted to talk about change. That's what I mentioned at the beginning of this video. Let's talk about change. If we're going to talk about things first, I'd like to be honest, I remember this. I remember back when Jake Virtanen and Ben Hutton were supposedly offered in a trade to the Colorado Avalanche for Tyson Barrie proposed by Elliotte Friedman. Just look at the Reddit comments here. These were all the same sentiments that everybody felt at the time. No, just no. This is the long and short of it right here. No. What has he been smoking? We would never do that trade. A better title would be, why would the Canucks do Virtanen and Hutton for Barrie? Please, no. And I know this is just us 2-3 years removed saying, yeah, no, we like our good players, let's keep them here. I know that. But this is why I wanted to talk about change. Because what exactly would have happened if that went down? Because looking at things right now, Ben Hutton is a player who, let's face it, he had an off year. He played with a few pretty bad defensive pairings, and Jake Virtanen is a guy who's been finding his stride, literally his stride, but everything else about his game sort of needs a little bit of work. It's just interesting to see that we are so closed off to the real possibilities of what could happen. Because let's say this did happen. Virtanen, Hutton out, Barrie is in. Things would be completely different today, as we would for sure win a few more games in the next 3-2 years. Who knows where we would be in the draft rankings? We wouldn't have had to suffer through a horrendous Hutton-Goodbranson pairing. In the earlier parts of this past season, Jake Virtanen would have freed up a roster spot for some other guys to step into the lineup. And overall, would Tyson Barrie have even worked? I mean, Barrie just came off of a career year, 57 points, but in his previous seasons, particularly the season that we were talking about, 14-15, Barrie was coming off of 53 points then as well. So, Barrie was obviously a player who was very high valued. And considering that he was like 23 back then, things were really interesting. Looking at things now though, Tyson Barrie, 26 years old, 57 points, 14 goals, 43 assists, and 68 games played. as a defenseman, a right-handed defenseman from Victoria, he wouldn't have been a better fit for the Vancouver Canucks, to be completely honest here. And who knows what would have happened. He would have came over here, we would have won a few more games, maybe we don't end up picking guys like Juolevi, maybe we don't get Elias Pettersson the next year, maybe we don't finish 7th overall last in the standings in this most previous season, maybe we have a few more games up there in the win column. Having a power play with a Boeser and a Barrie on the left side, oh boy, that sounds good. But it's really interesting, right? Isn't it? Like, it's just so interesting to me to see what could have been. And even what could have been with our own players. What if Ben Hutton and Virtanen were sent over to Colorado? Back then, in 2015, Jake Virtanen was in a position where people were saying, yes, okay, he's going to make a jump. He just came out of junior and played for the Canucks in that season, I'm pretty sure. And at the time, a lot of Vancouver Canucks fans were super hyped. Ben Hutton was the next best defenseman. Jake Virtanen was the next Todd Bertuzzi. Which is why the connotation was there when Elliot Friedman said, Virtanen, Hutton, Barrie. Everyone was like, no. And obviously, if things would have worked out that way, if that trade did go through, would Virtanen still be in the position he is now in Colorado? I mean, honestly, Colorado's been doing such a good job over the past, year. I'm gonna say the past year, because 2 years ago, oh man, they were in a position. But the Avalanche have been in a really interesting way of building their team up. And the guys that they've found ways to bring the best out of them, absolutely. You could say it's all Nathan MacKinnon doing all the work, but, there's gotta be something else behind there too. Mikko Rantanen, Gabriel Landeskog, Barrie, MacKinnon, add Kerfoot to the mix, and you have a fantastic quintet of offense. Just take a look at it. Kerfoot, 43 points in 79 games. Barrie, we already talked about Barrie. He got himself 57 points in 68 games played. Landeskog, 62 points. Mikko Rantanen, over a point per game, 84 points. Nathan MacKinnon, 97 points. The Avalanche are just in such a good position right now. And it all happened after Patrick Wall left. Continuing on, though, Ben Hutton. How would Ben Hutton have fared with the Avalanche? Of course, he's left-handed, so he's not going to be utilized in the same position that they utilized Tyson Barrie. Would Ben Hutton have been a two-way guy, developed more as an offensive guy? Would they have asked him to be the next Barrie? Because it's very obvious to see that Barrie, you could say he's a two-way guy, but he's a very offensively minded player. And Ben Hutton never really was that. So, what exactly would be the demand out of Ben Hutton had he gone to Colorado? Keep in mind, back then, if you exclude Tyson Barrie, the Avalanche's defensive core, they got guys like Eric Johnson, Nick Holden, Redmond, Zadorov, and, well, Francois Beauchemin. Interestingly enough, though, Beauchemin, 34 points in that season, my goodness, pretty good for him. What would the expectation have been for Ben Hutton? He would have been 22 years old at that time. Would they have played him in a top 4 role like the Vancouver Canucks had? And furthermore, assuming they did, how would he have progressed? Because Ben Hutton playing in the most previous season wasn't really that good. Not as good as he could have been, in my opinion, but nevertheless not really that good. How exactly would have Hutton molded with the Colorado Avalanche system, especially considering the coaching change and the big boom of success that they had? How would have Hutton and Virtanen worked out? And so, really, there's a whole can of worms that opens up when you ask these questions, and it's really just insightful to take a look back and say, man, Benning, oh man, we should have gone through with that trade, right? We should have proposed that. We should have proposed that, taken Tyson Barrie, and left. Because today, definitely, Tyson Barrie is worth a lot more than just Ben Hutton and Jake Virtanen. So, interestingly enough, this is our little talk today about change. That's what I wanted to talk about at the beginning of this video, and I think I sort of covered that. The fact that we really, really were faithful in these guys, and sort of unfaithful, to be honest, in Tyson Barrie. And nowadays, we're looking at it like, man, that was wonderful. We should have had that. We should have had that. If it was on the table, we should have taken it. Man, things certainly do change if you wait a few years. But who knows? Maybe the Vancouver Canucks are taking a look at this down the future, and we're looking at it and we're like, yep, things are great, because look at some of the trades that did go our way, like, I don't know, Dahlin for Alex Burrows. That was a pretty good one, don't you think? And, you know, I know how it goes. You win some, you lose some. This one is one that we lost, despite not trading anything at all. The fact that we didn't trade anything is sort of the loss right here. Because, well, Tyson Barrie for Ben Hutton, I'm going to take the 50-point guy. He's pretty good. Right-handed, from BC. I would have loved Tyson Barrie on the Canucks. Hashtag PuckStrong, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. True or plus, if you thought you were like that for Gaming, and bye.